Hi guys, so in today's video we're going to be going over how to score on a keeper one-on-one. This is a very important skill for goal scoring players who find themselves isolated with the goalie one-on-one in matches. So we're going to go over a few different techniques or tactics that you can use to make sure you get the better of the keeper, and we're going to show you each one individually. So let's get right into the first way you can beat a keeper one-on-one. Okay, so there are a few different ways we're going to be covering in this video. The first way is slotting the ball past the keeper either side of him or through his legs, which is also used occasionally. The second way is rounding the keeper or going around them using either your momentum or using a skill move to off-balance them. And the third way is chipping the keeper, one of my personal favorites, which is faking like you're going to slot the ball past them or go around them, but instead lifting it over their head and into the goal. Okay, so now that you know what we're going over, let's go over each little area in depth. So I'm going to be showing you some diagrams and some footage of finishes so that you get a better idea of how each one of these things looks. Okay, so the first style of finishing that we're covering is called slotting it past the keeper. This is where you're going to keep it low to either side of the keeper or through their legs. If I have to attribute one player to being the master at this, it would have to be Thierry Henry. He used to do this so well. He'd be able to slot the ball past the keeper, put it through their legs, or just simply find the corner when it seemed impossible to do so. So if you see me using him in many of my examples, that's why. He was absolutely an expert at doing this. So here are some examples of Henry doing this. Take a note of a few things with these finishes of his. You'll notice first and foremost that he usually puts it on one side of the keeper on the ground. He doesn't really get too much loft on the ball. Sure, there are many finishes he does do where he gets loft on the ball, but in all these examples you can see he keeps the ball very low, which makes it very difficult for the keeper to get to it. You'll also notice that he's not smacking the ball or trying to hit it as hard as he can. He's just trying to pass it into the corners. This is a very effective way of scoring because it's so hard for the keeper to get down quickly, and if you put it close to the corner, it makes it even more difficult for the keeper to stop the shot. Okay, so this next way is called rounding the keeper, or just simply taking the ball around them so that you have an empty net to slot the ball into. If I had to attribute a player to being a master at this, I would say the older Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo, was excellent at this. He would do this all the time using either just his momentum to run right past keepers and slot the ball away, or sometimes he would do a move like a step over or a body feint to off-balance the keeper before doing this. This is a very effective method to use because if you do it right, you obviously have a whole goal to aim at and you're not going to miss too many of those chances. The risk is that the keeper takes the ball off you, but really the risk reward here is definitely worth it. I personally believe this is the best way to finish if you are isolated one-on-one with the keeper, and for a few reasons. One, if you do it right, the keeper can only foul you at that point, which is going to probably give you a penalty and a red card for the keeper. Two, as long as there is no defender trailing behind you that can catch up with you, you have an open goal to slot into. There's always a risk when you just try and slot the ball past the keeper, because if he gets to the ground quick enough or guesses correctly, he can save your shot. And there's a risk with chipping as well, because if he reads you, he'll save your shot. But if you can use your momentum or use a move to off-balance the keeper and then go past them, there isn't really much they can do unless you mess up in some way, or unless they read you. But a keeper is always going to be taking a risk diving at your feet, because if he doesn't get the ball and he gets you, it's not only a penalty for you, it's a red card for them. Okay, so we're looking at some examples of Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo, rounding the keeper in order to score. And you'll notice in a lot of these, he'll do one of two things. One of his favorite things to do is use his momentum and speed to simply beat the keeper outright. Or he might throw in a fake shot, a body feint, or even a step over in order to beat the keeper. And you can kind of see how effective this is, because even if a keeper kind of reads it last second and goes for the ball, he might trip him up and concede a penalty. So Ronaldo, to me, is the perfect example of someone who does this extremely well. He's very good at faking the shot or just using his momentum outright in order to beat the keeper. And because his touch is so good, he's able to do it. As long as you can push the ball past the keeper well enough, this is going to work more times than it isn't for you. And you can see just from these examples how effective this method is at scoring one-on-one with the keeper. So this final way of beating a keeper one-on-one is chipping them. This is actually one of my favorites as well, and one I like to use often because I think it's underutilized. If I have to name a player that I think uses this one to great effect, it's Lionel Messi. He uses this to such great effect. He has such a deft touch on the ball and such a great finish that he's able to chip many keepers. And the reason this one is so good is because most keepers' instinct when one-on-one with a player when they are about to shoot is to go to ground, because most players will always try and slot the ball past them, or if the keeper's lucky, the player will hit the ball right at them and they'll save it. So by faking that and then chipping it over them, you give yourself a great chance of scoring as long as you have the courage to do so and you perform the technique correctly. So to me, Messi is the champion at chipping the keeper when one-on-one. He has such great technique that allows him to do this, but you can see how effective this technique can be. Keepers don't usually expect you to chip them. That's usually one of the last things they come to expect. And it's hard for a keeper to anticipate it, because if a keeper does not go to ground or doesn't try and make a move to save the ball and just stands upright and you don't chip it and you slide it past them, they look a little bit stupid. So this is why chipping, if you can get good at it, is such an effective method to scoring one-on-one with the keeper. It is personally one of my favorite things to do, because every single time I've tried to do it, except for one time, it has worked and the keeper has not read what I was about to do and has either gone to ground or hasn't been able to stop the ball going over their head. And in these examples with Messi, you can kind of see in some of the examples the keeper going to ground as he chips the ball, because they're expecting Messi to either take it around them or to try and slot it past them. So this is a very effective method. It takes a bit of practice to get the technique down, but it's definitely worth doing so. Alright guys, so those are some different methods you can use in order to beat keepers one-on-one. Again, this is so important for players that are goal scorers, because you want to be prepared with many different options when you find yourself one-on-one with the keeper. Another good thing to remember when you're one-on-one with the keeper is to stick with your original option unless you need to change your choice, because the last thing you want to do is get up in your head and kind of have too many options and then mess up because you can't choose one of them. So if your first instinct is to round the keeper, go for that. If your first instinct is to chip them, go for that. And if your first instinct is to slot the ball past them, go for that. Okay guys, so this video has been how to score more goals in soccer, how to beat a keeper one-on-one. Be sure to check out the other video right now in this series, which is how to be direct. There should be a video to that. I put another video I think you'll like as well up here as well, and make sure you subscribe to Simply Soccer. Like this video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you on the next video.